Hey guys, it's Jess again. Today I'm going to share with you a new video idea. At least it's new to me and I think I came up with it, but probably I didn't and I just don't know like why it's in my brain. Do you guys know what I mean? Regardless, I'm talking about products that just make me think of OG YouTube. Just old school, original YouTube that I started watching, you know, 5-6 years ago, and I've never looked back, but these are products that back in the day before I had a channel, I heard so many people talking about. And so I just thought this would be fun and kind of nostalgic. I have seen a lot of nostalgic YouTube, so maybe that's why it's in my brain. People doing, I mean, this video has to be out there. It doesn't matter. So I'm excited to share. I've got a whole bunch of products in front of me that I want to talk about that were loved back then, and you know, some of them I still love today. And so let's go ahead and get into it. So first thing that I thought of, I mean, please, first thing any of us think of is probably the Naked palette. This is, to me, very nostalgic, and yet it's still an amazing palette. I mean, you can't take away the fact, and this is my original one I bought. It's very, very loved. My favorite shade for the longest time was Half Baked, which is like this gorgeous gold. It's like the best, let me swatch it on my hand, the best gold shadow ever. Although there was a Stila one called Bubbly, and that's my favorite, my actual favorite gold shadow ever. I don't even know if they still sell it. It was like in one of their older palettes. But I also really, really loved Toasted over here. I know Buck, which is like the matte brown, is a very loved one, like in tutorials and things. So there's Toasted, and then Buck is right there. And I remember back in the day, I'm like, Buck is too dark. Like, I can't blend that into like the crease. But now that I have a little more experience with makeup, I'm like, okay, now I get it. But back then I'm like, oh, like I need a medium shade. Well, that really is more of a medium depending on your skin tone. But I love this palette so, so much. Oh my gosh. Next product is the Urban Decay Primer Potion. It's a very good eyeshadow primer. It really is. It's just tacky and sticky enough. It's kind of, almost has that pore filling kind of feel, even though it's not like a pore filling primer, it's for your eyes. But it just kind of smooths everything out. It really does hold on to shadow. Now, because this one's the original, it does not have any like color to it or anything, so it's not necessarily gonna make your eyeshadow like pop more like a white primer would, but it's still really, really nice. So this is actually a more recent repurchase just because I was like, I kind of miss having it in my collection. It's really good. Now, of course, there are other drugstore options out there that are just as good, like the Milani primer. Milani eye primer is absolutely just as good and it's way cheaper, but I still like having this in my collection just for like nostalgia's sake. Sorry guys. Another OG one was the NYX Mega Shine Lip Gloss. This was in the shade Beige. I heard so many people talk about it back in the day. I talked about it in the early days of my channel. It's a pink color. Don't know why they called it beige. Has a really strong cherry scent, but I remember people would do whole videos on these lip glosses and just, you know, they'd have every shade, which is insane because there's so many shades. But they'd have every shade and they would swatch them all, and it's just a standard lip gloss, but it's really nice. It's comfortable, it's not sticky, the packaging has not changed a bit, there's still a little bow on top. Another one that was very well loved back in the day was the NYX Pore Filler Primer. I remember hearing about this from like Shades of Cassie, I think, back before I had a channel. And a lot of people, and myself included, I'll only use it on my nose because it is a very filling primer. Now, NYX has raised the price of this, and I don't think it used to be that expensive, but it's kind of a peachy tone. It becomes translucent, and it's very, very, you know, that very velvety feel, very pore filling. Now, if you keep rubbing it, it's going to start to pill up just a bit, depending on the moisturizer you have underneath, because of the nature of the product. So you can kind of press it in, but it definitely fills pores. I mean, there's no doubt about it, and that's why it was so well loved, and for a long time it was pretty cheap. But I want to say when I bought this one, again, I think it was like $15 or something, and I was like, what? But it is really good, but still I was just kind of shocked because I think it used to be like $5.99, you know? Maybe I'm making that up, but I don't think that I am. Another OG YouTube bronzer was the freaking TooFaced Chocolate Soleil bronzer. People ate this stuff up. But so did I. And then they came out with, more recently, the milk chocolate. And that one actually really is too light. I'll use it sometimes, but I'm like, it's almost just too light even for me. But smells like chocolate, a really nice bronzer shade for someone near my skin tone. Yeah, definitely has that fake chocolate smell. I like that. Beautiful packaging. And it's just a standard bronzer is the reality. There's nothing wrong with it. It's good. It lasts pretty well throughout the day. I use it all the time. I have no complaints, but you know, do I think this, you know, now knowing what I know, do I think this is like leaps and bounds above other drugstore bronzers? No. For example, I'm really digging the Essence Sun Club Matte Bronzing Powder. I really, really like this, and it's a huge pan, and it's like $5. I also really like, of course, the Butter Bronzer is well loved on YouTube nowadays. Wonderful, very similar tone. This is the light one, very similar tone to this. Let me just show you. Maybe no, I mean, they're really, really similar. Maybe a little lighter, so if you get like the medium bronzer, it might be a little closer. So, I mean, there are drugstore options out there that are just as good, but I do still like this. Again, all of these, well, yeah, no, all of these are products I like, but it doesn't mean there aren't drugstore alternatives out there. Does that make sense? Okay. So another one, the Urban Decay All Nighter. A lot of Urban Decay is what I've kind of realized. Like, that was such a big brand. It still is a huge brand, but it was such a big brand back then. Like, that was like the brand to have everything in. And the All Nighter spray, it's made by Scandinavia. And sorry, apparently needed to take a sip of tea right then. I like it a lot. This is probably the third bottle I've owned. I've also owned the Scandinavia ones. They perform the same. I really like both. But, you know, a really good mister. They've always had a good mister on it. They have changed the packaging over the years. But I do feel like it makes a little bit of a difference in the staying power of my makeup. Do I think it's like night and day? No. But do I use a setting spray every day? Yeah. I like the feel of it. It makes me feel like my makeup's done. It helps it all kind of melt together. And so I still really like it. Another favorite was the Rimmel Stay Matte. A lot of people talked about this, myself included. It's like $5. They have a translucent shade. This is in Sandstorm. I'm swatching it. You can't see it. This is in Sandstorm, which is a darker shade. How this is a darker shade, I'll never understand. But it was very well loved. I mean, honestly, these all kind of go on translucent. But they're just so good at soaking up just enough oil, but not so much that it's just so powdery. And that was why I originally loved it and why a lot of people loved it. And it's still that same quality. So, and it's so cheap. Boxed blushes from Benefit. These were so huge. And I remember, like, I would watch makeup collection videos and be like, oh my gosh, because someone would have all of the box blushes and I would just like stare at them like, oh my gosh, Coralista and Bella Bamba and whatever else, you know. And it's funny because over the years I've owned all of them and I've decluttered over the years all of them, but this is in the shade Dallas. Looks like a bronzer. I mean, you could wear it as a bronzer, but it's a little bit rosy tone, so I wear it as a blush, and it's one of my favorite blushes of all time. I love the smell. They each have their own smell, but, you know, they just have that, you know, you just shut the little box, and it's magnetized, and it comes with the little brush that I never use, so I never keep. But I liked all of them. It was just more of I didn't use them, so I felt guilty keeping them. And now I'm saying this out loud. Now I'm like, now I want them all back because I want to, like, try them all again. What's that one that's like... Oh, Hervana. I want that one back. I think I regret getting rid of that one. Anyway, so these were huge, and I do still really love Dallas, that shade. Oh my gosh, remember the L'Oreal Infallible shadows? These are still awesome and still talked about today, but these were really big back then because there really wasn't anything like it in the drugstore. So the most popular shade, well, one of, is Amber Rush, and that's one that I still have today. So flipping gorgeous. Oh, I'm trying to put it on top of that like primer. That did not work. On top of the face primer. There we go. Gorgeous kind of bronzy shade. Well, that's it there too, but it's on top of that pore filling primer. Regardless, so gorgeous. I mean, you can't beat it for the price. Again, I think they've raised the prices over the years, but you know, it's a drugstore brand. You can find sales, coupons, things like that. But love this. What was the other one I used to love? Iced Latte. It was like a champagne white kind of a shimmer, and I'd put it all over my lids. Oh, I loved that. You could probably even use it as a highlighter now. But these were so big for good reason. They're really good. Put it on top of a primer and it is not budging. So much pigmentation. Gorgeous. Another popular one were the Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundations. This is the, you know, new formulation, but I had the old one, and when I got married, that's what I wore. And I wish it was still that formula. This is still good. I still like this. I just felt like the last one, the original formula, was maybe slightly more moisturizing and so my skin liked it better. Does that make sense? I think this is just a little bit more drying, and it probably makes it more long wearing, but it doesn't look as good on my skin. But I do still use it and like it. I have the shade Y225, which is, I think, a little dark for me right now. I could put like some Cover FX drops in it, but I keep it because in the summer, this really is a pretty good match for me. I really do like it still though. Like I said, it's got nice coverage. It does stay on really well. It looks gorgeous in photography. That's why I wore it for my wedding. But my recommendation for a similar look, I still love the Revlon Color Stay Whipped foundation. And that one, I need to buy again because I think my last one had gone bad and I had to get rid of it. That one, I kind of mentioned in my wedding makeup dupes video for like expensive ones. I can link that below. I mean, it was a couple years ago, but I still stand by everything I said. I basically gave high-end versions of wedding makeup and then drugstore dupes. And for my wedding, a lot of it, I wore the drugstore version, you know? So I'll link that below if you're interested, if you're getting married or special event wedding makeup. Anyway, I do like it. Okay, another one, MAC paint pots. Again, this harkens back to the days of like Ellen Blair Fowler, if you know who they are. I mean, they're still around, but they own so much MAC. I could have pulled out any of my MAC products and said MAC singles and MAC lipsticks, but I mean, the reality is I just picked a few. Was this all I picked? You know what I need to get again? The MAC Pro Longwear Concealer. I completely forgot about that stuff. I loved that stuff. And I used my last one up, or maybe it went bad and I never bought another, and I just remembered that, and now I miss it and I need it. Anyway, but MAC paint pots, these were huge. The only two I currently own is, well, one of them is Soft Ochre, which I use as a primer on my eyes, and I love this. This is like, I'm in a hurry, dap, 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 and it's perfect. And then Indianwood, my favorite kind of color one. It's this gorgeous bronze. It's got a little sheen to it, but it's not glitter at all. And it just looks gorgeous. I'll put it all over my eyes, blend it into the crease, and that's it. And it looks so beautiful. I know a lot of you guys have picked this up on my recommendation, but people used to love the shade Rubenesque, which again, I want to buy that again and try it because it's been years. But it was a very kind of peachy orangey color, and back when I owned it, I didn't like that color on my eyes. Now I'm like, now that's totally my thing, and now I want to try it again. I know I can usually get these half off when they have MAC on Haute Look. It'll be 50% off, and I've seen Rubenesque on there every single time. So I think next time it's on there, it'd be like 10 bucks. I think I'm gonna buy it. I can link Haute Look below. I mention it all the time because I buy like everything I own there. Like all of my clothes, these earrings. No, maybe I got these earrings at Target. Actually, this shirt, most of my shirts I buy on Haute Look. But this shirt's actually my sister's. It's a maternity shirt, and she's letting me borrow it, and I just like it. I'm borrowing a couple of her tops and things. Last product I'm gonna mention is the Buxom lip glosses. The original Prankster was the one in White Russian, and I don't remember if that's the one that like, oh yeah, they were like, Kim Kardashian wears it, or maybe that was the NARS one. Regardless, they have this tingling kind of plumping effect. I have the shade Sandy that I like. I have a few shades, I think. I mean, it's just a standard lip gloss. You can't really see it. Looks like this, but kind of clear. I like that feeling, but these were so big, and I remember saving up to buy like my first one, but I think by then I had a channel. But I still feel like that was when they first came out, you know, years back, people were like, oh my gosh. And this is one of those products I can remember being in a Sephora and just like looking at all of the different Buxom lip glosses and being like, I want them, but I didn't buy one. Anyway, so those were a bunch of just nostalgic makeup products. Most of them I still really, really love. Let me know, what do you remember from back in the day? Like, what products do you remember being huge? I'm excited to read through these comments because I feel like you guys are gonna mention things that I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that existed. Or oh my gosh, one thing I don't have would be the Revlon lip butters. That's like the original, like, YouTube, holy moly, like everyone was obsessed with them, myself included. But I don't own any because they were from years ago and they're pretty old. But I kind of miss them. I want them to come back. So other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely give it a thumbs up if you did. I feel like my eyes can't stop smiling because it just put me in a good mood. Anyway, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.